Good morning. Good morning, ladies. Good morning. We're just going to leave it a minute or two whilst people are continuing to join. But if you are already here, then can someone, if you're able to, I will always say, whack your camera on, because it's always good to see people's faces, and this is all about connection as well. So if you're able to, although appreciating not everyone is always able to do it, if you can, we would love to see your beautiful faces. And as if by magic, we start seeing everyone's beautiful faces. So yeah, just to say, if you haven't got your own personal volume switched up, sometimes that can happen. Make sure you've got your volume to maximum so you can hear us. Hopefully, ladies, you've got some kind of peace and quiet this morning, maybe not, and you're able to kind of give yourself this time and space to learn, to grow, connect, to be with other women on, a similar wealth building journey. So thank you for those that have managed to put your cameras on. And again, if you're multitasking, doing things you're not able to, don't worry. But good morning to Catherine, Heather, good morning, my love. Jane, Claire, good morning. Sarah B, good morning. Waff Waff. Who's Waff Waff? Would love to know who you are.
That's a great name.
Great name. I'm very, very jealous. Alexandra McDonald, good morning, my love. And I think we've got a few more that are signed up for today, so hopefully they will be joining us shortly, which is normally the case kind of 5 minutes in. We've still got people trickling in. So thank you for those that have put your camera on. So let's just get a little bit of a gauge of the room then, just while we're kind of building up, just while we're getting things started. Hopefully you've all got your brews. So we've got, well, we've just done a cafetiere of coffee. So black coffee for us this morning. But yeah, hopefully you've all got a brew, ladies, and hopefully you've all got a pen as well, so we can take some notes. This is all about learning, growing, kind of becoming the best versions of ourselves that we can, and ultimately learning how we can put our money to good use, to make sure it's working as hard as we're working, and that we can grow out that freedom fund, that retirement pot that we're all looking to do. So let's just see where everyone is dialing in from this morning. For those that have already joined you on time,
can I add on to that as well? Where you're joining in from, and what is your chosen brew? So, like Lucy said, ours is black coffee. Maybe it's not a brew, maybe it's a cold drink, maybe it's breakfast. Let us know where you are dialing in from, but also what is your chosen drink?
Bucks Fizz, mimosa, gin and tonic.
Espresso, not espresso martini.
No, just the espresso bit. And Claire dialing in from Dartmouth, beautiful Dartmouth. Thank you, Claire. Judith has also joined the call. Good morning, Judith. Catherine, Cornwall, and T. Lovely.
Sarah from Northern Scotland, that is a long way from us. And Yorkshire tea, yes, I just bought a box of Yorkshire tea last week. It's one of my favourites. Yeah, the only option.
We have got Sarah B in from Northern Scotland, Yorkshire tea. Yeah, sorry, I'm just repeating stuff there. Catherine, Cornwall tea, Jane, Oxford tea, Lou, Birmingham. Black coffee, breakfast is still being made. So our breakfast / brunch is also prepped and ready to go for when we finish this masterclass webinar this morning. Heather dialing in from Plymouth, English breakfast tea, my fave. Wafa is in, and I like the little emoji that you've also added, Wafa, to your name. Thank you for that. White tea and ginger, love it. Ginger's good for keeping cold away, isn't it?
Loads of things.
Yeah. Amazing. Judith,
nothing I can remember.
Judith, good morning. I'm out and about with viewing, so listen mode only. Yeah, wicked. That's cool. So a bit of net time for you this morning, Judith, which is epic. So yeah, thank you for sharing, ladies. And this is actually the first time that we've done a Saturday webinar, Saturday kind of masterclass. We did have a few of you reach out and ask if we could do something on a weekend, because it's not always that easy in the evenings to make these things. So hopefully for those of you that are here today, this has kind of worked out nicely for you in terms of timelines. And just welcome for showing up. Well done for being here, for taking action and for showing up. yeah, we massively appreciate that as well. We'll always kind of say these things much more enjoyable if we can get some connection, because it is about connection. If you can engage, brilliant. If you can ask questions, please do. And we will be delivering an open Q&A at the end of this webinar to answer any of your specific wealth building questions. So we will be leaving that till the end. If there's something that comes up throughout it, we can answer it here and there, we will. If not, we'll probably leave most of the questions till the end. And just one more thing then, just to try and gauge where everyone's at in their wealth building journeys. If you are already investing, if you are a seasoned investor, give us a thumbs up. If you are just starting out in your wealth building journey, if you are a beginner, then just give us a smiley face. If that is the category that you fall into, just so we kind of know. If you're in the middle, I guess what's an emoji for if you're in the middle? Little balance, just a little set of scales maybe.
Good luck finding that one.
If you've started out but you kind of trying to make your way but you're not too sure, so Sarah, smiley face, Wafa, smiley face, Claire, smiley face, Lou, beginner, smiley face, Heather, smiley face. Thank you, ladies. Cool. And that's epic, because this is really what this session is really designed for, is to help you become more confident, to gain more clarity on actually how you can make your money work for you, and that's the most important thing. So okie dokie, right, one of the biggest myths that there is out there, without a doubt, is that you need to be wealthy to get started. Now, if I had £1 for every single time I heard that, I would literally be on my way to $1 million just through that alone. Women that we've had multiple hundreds and hundreds of conversations with, that those typical barriers and resistance to getting started, that they're waiting for the right time, that they're waiting for the next pay rise perhaps, or that they needed to, I don't know, sell their house first in order to get started, all of these things. So today, really what we want to show you is that you don't need to be wealthy to invest. That is such a massive myth, that actually investing is how you become wealthy. Again, if I had £1 for every single time I heard, I don't have enough money to get started, you need to be rich to invest, then like I said, I'd be well on the way to that just through that alone. But for any of you in the virtual room with us this morning, if you've ever thought, have I left it too late? We're going to show you how it's still very, very possible to build a big old number, and by that, we mean significant wealth in the stock market. So that's what we're going to be showing you today. And as I said, for those that do stay on to the end, we're going to open up an open Q&A session for you to be able to grill us on any questions that you've got with regards to your own wealth building journeys. We'll also be opening up an opportunity for those that perhaps would like more focused, structured support moving forward. There's a few of you online today that are already joining us on our next investing program, which starts on Monday, which we're very, very excited for. And there's also a few of you that have asked us about it. So we're going to be letting you all know at the end of this presentation. Okay, so we do have some new ladies joining us this morning, which is absolutely epic. So for the newbies in the community that are listening in, just a little bit of a really quick intro into me and Steph. So I'm Lucy.
I'm Steph.
And we should practice that more, shouldn't we?
Yeah, but if you forget, because people do get us confused, just look at our mugs, which are hers and hers that your mum bought us, didn't she? So she gets confused as well.
Yeah, so we've been together now for 16 years. We live in the beautiful ocean city that is Plymouth, Devon. We live with our firstborn, which is, you can just see her in the background there. That's our transporter van. So her name is Ange, so that was our firstborn, and then our secondborn here is our Asbo French Bulldog, Cersei, and yeah, both considerable wealth drains on us. So Between me and Steph, we bring nearly 40 years worth of military service, alongside years of elite sport and leadership in high pressurised environments. Steph is a GP, still serving in the Royal Navy with a Masters in Behavioural Finance. And I am a very, very proud veteran of 21 years service, now turned full-time coach, mentor and professional speaker. Between us, we've built multiple businesses now from scratch, and we've spent our careers helping people perform at their best, mentally, professionally and financially as well. And we've built a 7-figure portfolio, a diverse portfolio across stocks and shares, which we're going to be focusing on today, property, gold, silver and crypto. We've done that not through luck, not through hype, but just through a calm, long-term, repeatable strategy. That again, we're going to be showing you how to do that today. And that's what we want to teach women. We want to teach women how to build wealth simply, sustainably, and also with confidence. But this wasn't always, the reality. For years, we did everything right. We had the secure military careers, we had good, solid income, strong work ethic. But behind the scenes, we spent absolutely everything we earned. We had nothing meaningful put aside. We realised, that actually, unless we changed something, that we were going to need to stay in the military into our late 60s to achieve any real quality of retirement. Then I had a serious snowboard accident whilst competing at the British Championships out in Switzerland, which pretty much changed everything. This particular accident, meant I could have been, I wasn't, but I could have been discharged from the Navy, from the military. And I think it was in that very moment that we realised how fragile security, financial security really is. We had no financial safety net, or no real financial safety net. We had no control over where we were posted in the world. We had no freedom to be there for each other when actually it really mattered. We had careers, but we certainly didn't have independence, and we had income, but we didn't really have any plan. And that might resonate with some of you on the call this morning. And again, if it does resonate, just give us a thumbs up in the comments just to check in. So our mission is really, really simple. It is to empower as many women as we possibly can to take control of their finances, accelerate their journeys to financial independence and financial freedom. And we want to do that by helping you to gain clarity around your financial goals, confidence when it comes to your money, your finances, investing, how you can actually make your money grow, and to build a community, which is what we're doing right now, of like-minded, wealth-minded women who want to step into their financial brilliance, who want to step into their financial power, because actually, when we do, we are excellent investors, and the evidence proves that is the case. When women do invest, we make far, far better investors than men over the long run. And that's not to men bash in any way, shape or form. That's just to let you know that actually, when we do learn the basics, when we have a plan, when we have people to support us, this is something that we do really, really well at. Just quickly, a little bit of a disclaimer. Neither me or Steph are financial experts in terms of financial independent advisors. We can't give you independent financial advice. If you needed that, please always speak to a professional. But what we are here to do is to empower you, to give you the knowledge, the information, the clarity, the confidence that you're able to make your own informed and confident decisions. Now, what does financial freedom actually look like to you? So I think in order to gain the ultimate clarity of what your financial future looks like, we need to know where we're heading to and actually how we're going to get there, right? We can't hit a target that we cannot see. And this starts with visualizing what that future actually looks like. So, for those of you, you all want financial independence and freedom, otherwise you wouldn't be on this call this morning. But have you actually ever given yourself the permission? Have you ever actually given yourself the space and the time to think about that for just even a few minutes? So I do want to just do a very quick, 30 seconds or so. I want you to just, if you're listening in and you're driving, please don't do this next bit. But if you're able to, I just want you to very, very quickly just close your eyes, and I want you to just for a second or two do your best to drown out any external noise. Forget about the past, switch off to what's on your to-do list, and just be completely present in this very moment. And I want you to think about your financial future. I want you to think about, what does financial success, freedom, what does that actually look like to you? What do you want that to be? And I want you to visualize yourself in it. Where are you? Look at your surroundings. Who are you with? Who's there with you? And actually, how are you spending that time? And just take 10, 15 seconds just to think about that. Really think about it. And all of those things that you're seeing, the people that you're with, those things that you're doing, the activities that you're doing, that's all the things that you value. That's all the things that are important to you. And your values should absolutely be what you are prioritizing financially. Whether it's family, whether it's travel, or, a nice kitchen, having the house of your dreams, setting your kids up to maybe have the opportunities that you maybe didn't have, whatever that is. But that's where we need to start being intentional. That's where we want our money to go. That's where we need to start being intentional with our money. And I would encourage you to check back in every now and then, check back into your financial vision, because your financial vision needs to be so strong that you would be willing to walk through fire to get to it. But the reality is, there is so many barriers as to why women just don't even get started in the first place. So we've got the vision, but, have we got the goals? Have we built a plan? Do we know what we need to do in order to get there, what that roadmap looks like? But before we even get to that, there are so many barriers, so many factors that can just zap our motivation when it comes to this stuff. And maybe some of the words on the screen here do resonate with you. And again, feel free to drop into the chat box if any of them do kind of stand out. We've got fear of failure, making mistakes, perfectionism, thinking that you need to have absolutely everything kind of nailed on before you even get started. And again, some of these things, women generally, we are more kind of, susceptible to these thoughts. Past mistakes. Maybe you've made some past mistakes with money. I know I have. I've made some big mistakes in the past. Some things that I'm actually not very proud of. Now, I think there's another one here in terms of imposter syndrome. Thinking that you have to be perfect to do something, but on the flip side, that you're not good enough to do it, that you don't somehow belong. That, or maybe you're too old, that little gremlin on our shoulders that tell us all of these negative things that can penetrate in and just act as a massive blocker to whether we're going to do something. And something else that I want to mention is that our money mindset, which we're not going to be digging into today, but if you are thinking some of these things, then actually sometimes it's worth thinking back to where your money mindset may have been established. Now, the majority of money mindsets are established at a very, very young age, depending on like what type of world were you born into? Was the economy booming, or was it a recession? Were your family well off? Did you have opportunities from a young age? or actually was it a challenge? Were your family struggling? And again, those two things can have a very different impact and effect on our long-term mindset. So sometimes if there's, you know, things, maybe mistakes that you've made, I've made mistakes. I've made lots and lots of mistakes. When I kind of started to look a little bit more into the psychological side of things when it comes to this stuff, and I looked at my own money mindset. So my mum, you know, she had a really, really difficult time. She went bankrupt when I was about 4 years old, and you know, we ended up losing everything. She lost her business, we lost our home, we had to move to the other side of the country, we had to sofa surf on, you know, lots of her friends' couches for about 18 months, 2 years. And you know, she ended up having a nervous breakdown, which I saw that, I lived that from a young age. So that kind of financial chaos, I actually then carried that through with me into my early 20s, where I developed a really bad gambling habit. I made, as I said, a lot of mistakes that I'm not proud of. But actually, sometimes when we just look back and think, well, you know, maybe there was a reason for that. That mindset where I just brought that chaos through with me. So I think I say, you know, past mistakes, to not give yourself too much of a hard time if you have made mistakes, because actually the fact is we can reinvent and we can start again no matter where we are in our lives. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there. And again, thank you. You know, thanks ladies for jumping in on the chat box there. So yeah, kind of thinking that you've left it too late. It might be too late. Fear of failure, lack of clarity and modes of procrastination. That's a big one. Fear of failure, fear of losing money. So there's a kind of like consistency. There's a theme there that we can all kind of suffer from. So the aim of this, you know, masterclass webinar this morning then is to show you how you can use time and compounding to grow your money to 1 million or a big old number, depending on, you know, where you're coming in from. And to show you hopefully how simple that can be. As long as we've got the basic principles on lockdown, we've got a plan, we've got a strategy, and we've got people to support us in order to get there. Now, for those that have been on our sessions before, you will know that we are a big fan of Warren Buffett. He's got some great quotes when it comes to money, finance, building wealth. So the stock market is a device for transferring money from the active to the patient. So what is Buffett actually getting at here? Well, what he's actually saying is that investing isn't about being a hustler or being a good hustler, tracking the market, you know, tracking charts, trying to time the right time to buy or sell, or buying and selling continuously. One of the most important attributes when it comes to this stuff is patience. Women are good at it, and that's why women are good at it, because we have patience. And it's key, if we're going to be smart investors, that we understand the very basic fundamental principles of wealth building. Now, we came to learn during our investing journey that there are a handful of timeless principles that most successful investors in the world are exploiting to make a lot of money. And thankfully, they are super, super simple. So today we want to share two of these with you, which I've just mentioned before, time and compounding, and show you the use of these timeless principles to your advantage in order for you to build big wealth that actually lasts. Because when it comes to putting our hard-earned cash to work, of course, we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, right? We want to make sure that this is going to be a positive outcome. And once these themes click into your mind, they will unlock a newfound confidence and conviction that's going to allow you to sleep easy at night when you are investing, which is super important, because we need to feel comfortable with what we're doing. That is really, really important, because, you know, again, you want to be able to know that your hard-earned cash is being turned into real wealth over time. And furthermore, that you've got the belief and the conviction, the self-belief and conviction that actually you're going to be successful in doing that. So the number one principle that we want to share with you today is time. Okay, time is your superpower. One of the biggest fears that we hear from women is that they're scared they will lose money in the stock market, which again, we've just chatted about that in the chat box before. But here's the thing, when it comes to investing, as long as you take a long-term view, the risk of losing money not only becomes negligible, but actually we can learn to use risk to our advantage. We can use it as a tool to build significant wealth over the long term. So what do we mean by this? Well, firstly, take note of this. This is a big one. The global economy is super, super predictable. As far as records go back, the global economy has grown year on year. So that's about 150 years worth of evidence that the global stock market has actually returned 7 to 8% per annum on average for the last 150 years. So that is not too shabby. Now, this is because the global stock market is really just a reflection of the world's economy at large. And more importantly, it's a reflection of human progress, okay? So what does that mean? Well, businesses of all sizes, essentially creating products and services that people buy that fuel economies. And through the Stone Age, the Industrial Age, the Digital Age, the Information Age, to the AI age that we're living in today, technology just continues to develop. And when you look around you, whether it's your smartphones, whether it's the radiator on the wall, whether it's a light bulb above your head, whether it's the fact that we can flush our toilet in the bathroom, these are all just visual reminders of human progress at work. And when entrepreneurship is allowed to flourish, humans continue to create those solutions, and the market as a whole continues to profit and just continues to go up. So this is really why you don't need to be an expert to make money in the stock market, and you certainly don't need to hustle your way to get there either. You just need to understand that the global economy will continue to rise, and you just need to believe in the miracle of human progress, because again, we look back over the last 150 years and that is a fact. It is evidence-based. Now, also over the long term, the market is predictable in how it will grow. And this is the main thing really, as the thing that we can use to our advantage when it comes to actually investing into the global stock market. Because the beauty of this is that we don't have to worry about picking individual stocks, and again, I think a lot of people think that that's what investing is that you have to pick individual stocks, you have to be, watching charts all day, every day, you have to be buying and selling, or waiting for that perfect moment or the perfect market conditions to buy. But we're just investing into something that we know is going to continue to go up steadily, consistently over time, and we know that the global stock market will continue to make our money grow. So that's just a really important theme, principle, objective that we need to get into our minds when we're thinking of, investing is risky, I'm going to lose money. Actually, when we take a long-term view, the risk is negligible. It's as much as anything ever can be, it's zero when we look at it from a long-term approach. Now, just want to show you a little bit of an example of short-term thinking versus long-term thinking, and a saying in the financial markets of, if in doubt, zoom out. So if we look at any given snapshot in time of the markets, we could potentially freak out. So this chart that I'm showing you here, this was the S&P 500, okay, which is one of the most commonly talked about financial indexes in the world. It's really just a list of the 500 biggest stocks in the US, and we use this index to track overall performance of the US stock market. Okay, so it's just an index that tracks the overall performance of the US stock market, S&P 500 biggest companies. Now, in this chart, you will see that that's how it performed between January 2022 and June 2022. Now, if you had bought an index fund that tracked the performance of the S&P 500 in Jan 2022, you might be thinking of panic selling in the June, okay? If you'd have done that, you'd have lost over 20% of your original investment or capital. Now, as we know, as human beings, we suffer from something called loss aversion quite a lot, and that just means that we fear losing actually more than the feeling of winning. So the drive in winning, the fear of losing far outstrips it. And again, I don't know if that kind of resonates or you feel that, but that is unfortunately a human trait that we all suffer from. Now, if in doubt, zoom out. This is what I mean by this. So this chart shows the US stock market performance back to 2010. So that is the same snapshot of time that we looked at in the previous slide. Now we're zooming out and we're actually looking at it from 2010 to pretty much today. So when we zoom out, we see that short period of time is just a very, very tiny part of growth, overall growth over time. Now, if we'd have sold in June 2022, as I mentioned on the previous slide, we actually would have missed out on 60 to 70% worth of gains in just 2 years, which is astonishing, really, if you think about it. Now, this chart shows returns in the US stock market going back now 100 years. Now, again, at first glance, it can look pretty scary. We see a few red drops in there, some sharp falls. So we've got the crash of 1929 here. So we can see that's a big old drop. We've got the Black Monday crash that happened in 1987. We've got the dot-com bubble in year 2000. And then we've got the global financial crisis, which happened in 2008. So some pretty sharp drops in the market. And this is, these are the parts people focus on when they say, that's exactly why I don't invest. I don't want to lose money. It's risky, etc. But here's what really matters. Every red dip you see there is temporary. As you can see, it's temporary. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but they are short. Months, sometimes just a couple of years. Now, if we look at the blue sections, these represent long-term growth, that last far, far longer, often many, many years, and they rise much, much higher. This is the key shift. Long-term investing isn't about avoiding loss. It's about understanding that loss is part of the journey, not the destination. Losses are only temporary. When you don't invest at all, your money never has the chance to recover, to grow, or to compound. So the real risk isn't the ups and downs that you see on the chart. The real risk is letting fear keep you on the sidelines whilst time just continues to pass away. And importantly, you don't have to be fearless to invest. We all have fear. We just need to make sure it's calculated and that we understand the basics, we understand the principles, and that we're going to let time do the heavy lifting for us. Okay, now over to you.
Yeah,
enough for me talk.
So morning, ladies.
I can sip some coffee now.
Yeah, you can drink your coffee now. So I'm going to start this next section by moving on to principle number 2. Now, Charlie Munger, some people may have heard of him, some people may not have. He was Warren Buffett's lifelong business partner and one of the greatest ever investors. He unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. He was actually 99 years old when he passed away, and he was still actively investing at this age. And he said this, he said, the first $100,000 is a bitch. The next $100,000 will be much easier. What was he talking about? Well, this quote essentially captures Munger's belief in the power of something called compound interest, and ultimately the financial and the psychological momentum that builds after reaching your first major milestone when investing. which can actually be any milestone, which we'll see in the next few slides. It doesn't have to be 100,000. So principle number 2 is compound interest. It's also known as the snowball effect. Einstein supposedly coined compound interest as the 8th wonder of the world. People may have heard that kind of quote before. Compound interest is the idea that your cash invested earns interest, and over time you don't only earn interest on that original cash, but also on the interest itself. And then the following year, you don't just earn interest on the cash and the interest, but you also earn on the cash, the interest, and the new interest. And that kind of rolls on and rolls on, leading to exponential growth in wealth over the long term, not just linear growth. So it's a bit like a snowball rolling down the hill, keeps getting bigger, as you can see from the slide there. And the longer it rolls, and it keeps picking up more snow, the more powerful it gets. And when you can get your head around this, and it certainly took us a while, I'd say probably a few years, to really understand this, there will be a critical shift in how you think about wealth building. And you'll suddenly realize that actually what maybe you thought was impossible is actually possible, and because the results are truly extraordinary. So this table essentially shows an example of how long it might take to invest our way to £1 million. It says dollars, but it's the same thing. We're going to talk about pounds. It's more relevant to us. So we're going to assume here, right at the bottom of the slide, it says, let's assume we're investing £10,000 a year and there's a 7% return achieved. Like Lucy said, 7 to 8% is a conservative estimate based on the average global stock market returns over the last 150 years. Now, as you can see, I'm just going to grab the mouse, can play with the pointer. Do you want to say what the market's achieved in the last 10 years and what we've achieved in the last 5 to 6? Let's talk about that. Yeah, okay. So it's a lot more than that in the last few years, but let's just have a look at this. So as you can see, to get to the first 100,000, this top line here, it's going to take about 8 years to achieve that. Okay, that feels like a slog. That was what Charlie was talking about. That first 100,000 feels like a slog. But from here onwards, you can see that it successively takes much less time. 5 years, 3 years, 3 years, 2 years. So the final 2 years, 800 to 900 and 900 to 1 million, takes less than 18 months. Same amount of money, hardly any time compared to the first year. And what this means is that for many years, it can feel like absolutely nothing is really happening with your money. You're just investing, you're not really seeing the effects, maybe a little bit of interest, but you're not seeing those true effects of compounding. But once it kicks in, and it's normally around year 15, about here, this is when the snowball really takes off and the effects can be life-changing. And we can see it here in a chart because some people would prefer to look at it this way. Each of these time blocks at the bottom represents £100,000. You see it starts around 8 years, it then moves to about 5 years, 4, 3, and then it gets less and less and less. This is the magic of compounding. And it's not linear, as we talked about. There's not linear growth in this money. When we get to this 15-year point, we can see it starts going to the moon. If you're sat there thinking, well, I don't have £10,000 to invest, don't worry. The great thing about compounding is that it works for absolutely any amount of money. So if you're going to invest £1,000 per year, that's essentially £83 a month, and your target was £100,000, then it's going to take you the same amount of time, because the exponential growth happens no matter how much you invest. You don't need to invest lots of money to have compound interest take effect. It happens no matter how much you invest. We'll look at some realistic examples of that in a bit. Now, there are essentially 4 factors or variables, if you will, that are going to determine your progress when investing. And we call these the 4 freedom factors. And these factors are incredibly powerful. Why is that? Because you can use them to gain absolute clarity on your financial goals, removing any guesswork and uncertainty from your future. So what are they? The first one is your starting point. Are you looking to put existing money to work, such as savings, a lump sum, an inheritance? Are you going to hit the ground running with a head start, or are you starting from zero? And that's absolutely fine. This is often where many women become really demotivated. They think, I'm starting from nothing and I've left it too late. No, as the Chinese proverb goes, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, great. But the next best time is always today, and it's never ever too late, meaning it's never too late to build meaningful wealth. And we will show you how. But every single day we wait or we put it off, we miss out on the sweet, sweet compound effect. So the second one is contributions. How much are you contributing and how often? This is what we call your financial surplus every month. This is the idea of paying yourself first. The second your income hits your bank account, whether that's your salary, whether that's money from the business, whatever that looks like, you transfer some money across into your investing account, so you have no choice in the matter. It doesn't matter what the market's doing, what Donald Trump is saying, the money has been moved across into your investing account. But if you're thinking who has a financial surplus, well, that's a really great question, because you're right, no one just has a financial surplus. That's not a thing. We don't just have spare money sloshing around unless we're really, really lucky. We've got to deliberately create it. And this is due to that thing that unfortunately we all suffer from called lifestyle creep. We talk about it quite a bit. Essentially, this is the idea that most people end the money with zero because we spend everything we make.
And the months with zero. What did I say? And the money.
And the money. And the money. And the month. Jump ahead. And the month with zero. We essentially spend everything we make, because what we do whenever we get a pay rise, whenever we come into more money, feels great for a bit. We feel like payday millionaires. After about 3 months, and this is what the evidence says, we've all just inflated our lifestyle. We've spent more money. We've took on more money on finance. We've bought a bigger car, bigger house, better kitchen, and we suddenly feel poor again. So that increase in our income, which we will see through most people's lives, has made absolutely no difference or very limited difference to our actual lifestyle and quality of life. We spend everything we make. This is a normal human behavior. In our workshop that we do, it's called our Wealth and Foundations workshop, we talk about how you can actually create a financial surplus through essentially solid money management skills and being deliberate with your money. Because what we need to do is essentially carve out a surplus each month. And we use what we call our 3 principles of the millionaire mindset to do this, which is about essentially spending less and earning more. It's quite simple, difficult to implement, but simple to understand. But ultimately, it does involve taking some pain today, not a lot, but some pain to create a brighter tomorrow, a brighter future. And that might be, cutting some spending in some areas, or looking for opportunities to make more money. Over time, we want to maximize our contributions and also increase them, essentially to keep up with inflation, whenever we get pay rises, things like that. And ideally, we want those contributions to be regular. We call this a pound cost average approach. It's about putting in the same amount of money into our investments, normally on a month-by-month basis, really to maximize opportunities when prices are low and buy a bit less when prices are high, as the market does this quite a bit. The third one is our return. So we talked about investing in the global market. We know the average return is about 7 to 8%, and that's a conservative estimate. As Lucy said, it's been a lot more in recent years, but we like to go with the most conservative estimate. So we say about 7 to 8% when we're looking at calculating our returns. And then the final one is our time horizon. How long have we got? No matter how old you are, I guarantee it is more than you think. Of course, we all want to retire at 55, but for the vast majority of us, that's not going to be possible, so we've got to be realistic. Growing money is still very, very possible in your 70s, in your 80s. Look at Charlie Munger, 99 and still investing. But what about the next generation as well? What about the children, the grandchildren, the godchildren, whoever you're kind of saving money for?
The Frenchy farm.
The Frenchy farm. If you have a dog or cat or fish, whatever it is, if you've got more than 5 years, and we use 5 years as a minimum to maximize our chances of positive returns when investing, there is still enormous value in investing money.
I just want to jump in there as well, actually, and it's off the back of Heather's comment, which is, thank you for sharing that, Heather. The fact that you lost everything 10 years ago and you're having to start again. And the thing is, if we look at kind of the most successful people in the world, how many times they've gone bankrupt, how many times they've been at absolute rock bottom, but actually what they're able to then do when they, go again is take all of the lessons, all of the learnings, all of the experience that we've gained to be able to actually get to where we want to get to much, much quicker the second, third, fourth time round of doing it. So it kind of like links in really there to no matter what decade of life you are kind of starting from, actually, you know, even if you are in 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, you know, what benefits, you know, what attributes you have now that you didn't necessarily have in your teens, your 20s, your 30s.
Stealing my sandwiches.
Sorry, I'm stealing Steph's sandwiches. So yeah, I'll shut up now. But just want thank you for sharing that, Heather, as well. It's a really good comment. Thank you. Great share.
So that they are the 4 freedom factors there. If you want to write them down, it's where you're starting from, those contributions, the rate of return, and time. These 4 things we can use to get clarity on where we're going. Now, we're going to start with some ambitious examples of investing. Let's go back to that thing that the presentation was talking about, the £1 million target. Don't worry though, with some of these, as we go through, there's going to be examples to suit all budgets and all ages. So with this first one, we're winding back the clock, certainly for us. So this is, imagine a woman in their 20s, maybe early 30s, and they're aiming to retire around 60 to 70, which is probably quite conservative with the direction of travel at the moment. So this person, we're going to use our 4 freedom factors to calculate going forward. So this person is starting with nothing. They're going to invest £300 a month, so a good amount of money. And you know, they're obviously going to have to deal with some pain to do that, but they really think it's important for their future. An 8% return is what we're going to use to calculate. They're going to invest for 40 years, which is going to take them to that 60, 70 year point, but they're going to do this consistently every year. And that is going to bring them to £1 million when they get to that point of retirement. So that shows the consistency and the time, so important when it comes to building wealth. In the second example, so this is maybe someone a little bit older, so maybe someone in their 30s, early 40s. They've got a little bit more of a surplus, this one, so they're going to invest £650 a month. They also started with £5,000 as well. They've got a bit of savings to start with, so I'm going to put a lump sum in too. I'm going to get the same return of 8%, and they're going to do this for 30 years. And that also would build a pot of around £1 million. And the final example here is a little bit more ambitious still. So this is someone who's left it a little bit longer, so maybe they're 40s, 50s, that sort of age. They're going to start with the same amount of lump sum, but they're going to invest £1,667 a month. Now, this sounds a lot, but what is the significance of this number? Well, essentially, if you did this every month for 12 months, this would be your ISA limit of £20,000. So there are people out there who can put £20,000 into an ISA. If this is you, you'll be looking at £1,667 per month to max out that stocks and shares ISA allowance. Appreciate not everybody can do that. We're going to go with an 8% return again, and we're going to do this just for 20 years this time. And again, that is the £1 million target after the 20 years. And actually, if you increase this out to 30 years, you'd be looking at a pot of about £2.5 million. Now, you might have spotted something here in these last 3 examples. You'll see that as each decade goes by and you leave it a bit later, the amount you need to contribute to get to the same goal increases exponentially. So if we flick back to example 1, it was just £300 a month. 10 years later, it became 650, so more than double. And 10 years later again, we've kind of gone up nearly 3-fold from the last one. So even I guess the point I'm making is the longer you do leave it, it is going to be to get to those same goals a lot more to contribute regularly. And this demonstrates just how critical time is when it comes to compound interest, and just why they should absolutely be teaching this in school. So we should have all started 20, 30, 40 years ago. But if you're still thinking here, I've left it too late, then why are you saying this? Let's have a look at some more realistic numbers and timeframes. Because I said, remember, compounding works exactly the same no matter how much you invest. So, example 4. So this time we're going to start with £5,000 as a lump sum. We're going to do £350 per month. We're going to do 8% per annum, and we're going to do this for 10 years. And this, at the conservative 8%, is going to give us a pot of £75,000. When we look at the breakdown of that pot, £28,000 of that is just compound interest. That's not money you've put in. That is just the interest, the growth of that pot over that time. Nearly £30,000 of compound interest. Now, if we compared this to a savings account, so let's say somebody that was putting this money into a cash ISA earning a moderate 3%, which, by the way, over the last 10 years is probably about triple the average percentage that you would have seen over the last decade. This would have grown to about £55,000. So that's a difference of £20,000 over 10 years, just for deciding to go with the stock market over the savings. And if we stretch this example out a little bit further, so same amount, £5,000, £350 a month, 8%, but we're going to stretch it out to 15 years this time, so 5 years longer, then we would end up with £138,000. And of this, £70,000 is now compound interest. So nearly half of the pot at 15 years is now the compound interest. Remember what I said about compound interest after 15 years? That's where the exponential growth starts, and you can see that really clearly from this example. You've only contributed half the money to this pot that is now almost, well, 50% made up of interest. And as time goes on from here, if you stayed for longer, the interest would massively outweigh your own contributions. Now, compare this one to a savings account. If you'd saved the same amount in the cash ISA, you would have ended up with about £85,000. That's now a difference of £50,000 for investing in the stock market. And we don't talk about it today, but if we use what we talk about quite a bit as how to draw down your pot, it's called the 4% rule. You might have heard it, you might not have, but it's essentially how we calculate a safe withdrawal rate from our pot once we've built up our pot of money. But this could mean, this amount of money could mean an extra £460 per month in retirement.
Tax-free.
Tax-free as well, because the way we talk about it is ISAs, it's tax-free withdrawal. Again, not something we massively talk about on this presentation, but we'll cover it in detail in the course. Now, if you think the state pension is about £1,000 a month, if you're not getting taxed, then you know that's almost another 50% on top, and you would not be taxed on that extra amount. And we've just looked at that in a chart. So I'll just point out here, this was the 10-year first example. So you can see about 2/3 is your contribution, that's the blue bit. Compound interest is the orange bit here. But when we stretch the example out to 15 years, we can now see that our contribution is only half, and now the compound interest, the orange bit, is taking over. And if you imagine stretching this out even longer, the contributions will just stay in a line. But if you can imagine, whoopsie daisy, on the keyboard again.
I love it that you said whoops a daisies. Does anyone else say whoops a daisies?
What's that film with Hugh Grant?
Notting Hill, I think. Yeah, great film.
So yeah, you can imagine the compound interest over longer actually doing this upwards trend, not like your contributions, which are just slowly going to go up steadily. And that is where the power comes in. Now, maybe if you're in your 50s, 60s thinking, again, I've left it too late, I don't have 10, 15 years, consider the following. Firstly, well, you probably, as Lucy was touching on, maybe have more expendable income now than when you were in your 20s, but maybe you're just more financially disciplined now than when you were younger. Got the right attributes to invest. And even if you have just 5 or 10 years, you can still get fantastic returns through investing. And for those wanting to leave a legacy behind, generational wealth, well, we can actually build something pretty special for our children, our nieces, our nephews, our grandchildren. You know, so maybe when you think about it like that, generationally, longer term, perhaps you do have maybe 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, depending on how old you are. So the key point then for compound interest, if you do have a pen and paper, definitely write this down. True compounding takes a long time. It takes 15 years, 20 years, but you can still get great returns in the stock market over shorter periods of time, 5 to 10 years. Oh, that's good. My screen just did a weird thing. Okay, I'm going to end on this final example here. Now, this may just be the best generational wealth hack that nobody talks about. So let's imagine, and this is no longer talking about ISAs, we're going to talk about pensions for a second. Imagine you put £2,880 into your child's account the day they were born, or maybe your grandchild's account the day they were born. And a lot of people say, what, children can have a pension? Absolutely, the day they're born, you can open a pension. If you don't have children, yeah, think nieces, nephews, grandchildren, godchildren, who knows, people that we want to contribute to in the next generation or the generation after. Now, When you add to a pension, or we call these the private pensions, we call them SIPs, self-invested personal pensions. A little known fact is that the government tops up by 20%. So that 2,880 instantly on the day, well, not on the day, but the year that you contribute becomes £3,600 free money from the government. Where else does this happen? Let's fast forward. So we're not going to contribute at all to this. We're going to leave it. We're going to get that 8% return because we're going to invest in the global stock market. And 70 years later, let's face it, the pension age is going to be much higher than that by then. This would have grown to £950,000. Just think about that. And there's more. If you'd added a further £800 per year, that's just £67 per month, and the government would top up that £800 to £1,000, because remember, every year they're topping 20% up. That could have grown to a pot by the age of 70 of £4 million. This is by no means get rich quick. We are not here to say that you're going to get rich overnight with this method. It's about thinking one generation ahead. Who thinks that we could solve the pensions crisis if more people knew about this? Just one money move. So we're just going to end this section on this quote. People may have heard of Alex Hormozi. He's a decamillionaire. He's an entrepreneur. We really respect his work. This perfectly captures the magic of the compound effect, because it's not the large money moves, it's the small consistent actions that compound over time. He said extraordinary accomplishments happen by doing ordinary things for an extraordinary period of time. Now, most people simply do not do this. But if you can commit just even a small amount to investing for a long time, at least 5 years, ideally 10, 15 years, it really could just make a monumental difference to your financial future.
Yeah, and I think just on that as well, I think we can all be guilty of underestimating how much time we've actually got. Like I want to be kicking it still in my 80s into my 90s, like living the life. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're women, so we live longer. We are the master species after all, ladies. Let's face it. So, you know, I think we've got more time than we think we have to really kind of build something magical. You know, as long as we put the wheels into motion as soon as possible, i.e. right now. So, you know, when is the right time to start? Well, you know, Steph mentioned about the Chinese proverb, and 20 years ago, best time to plant a tree, next best time is absolutely today. So if you are sitting on the fence, you know, what we would say is please don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. Like, don't get stuck on the fence. Don't let that resistance hold you back from building something really, really special. Start small, start simply, but mostly importantly, really importantly, you've got to start now, because as you've seen, you know, time and compounding will do the heavy lifting for you. And how by starting early, even with just small amounts, is what quietly builds wealth that actually lasts over time. But there's also another side to, you know, that coin, you know, pardon the pun, but time does work both ways. So if you've ever heard the phrase, you know, time waits for no one. Every year that you delay doesn't just pause your progress, it permanently shrinks what is possible. You know, remember that version of yourself that we talked about at the very beginning. You know, that visualization that you had, that, you know, that again needs to be so strong that you would walk through fire to get to it. It needs to mean something to you, whether it is traveling the world with complete freedom, whether it is spending more time with your loved ones, with your families, or just doing life on your terms. It doesn't collapse dramatically. It just slowly fades away, not because you've made a bad decision, but because you've made no decision. And that's the thing that nobody really talks about. You know, most women we meet don't fail with money. They just drift. They meet to get started. They plan to get around to it. They assume there'll be time later on, until that later on then becomes a year down the line, 5 years, 10 years, or worse still, you know, they'll get started, but without the right education, they'll end up making, you know, some fatal errors that could end up costing them, you know, lots of money in the future, savings, 4 figures, 5 figures. And that cost isn't necessarily just financial. It's that quiet stress of wondering, you know, will I be okay long term? Will I have enough choices, freedom, options? Will I still be working because I want to or because I have to? And that is really what is at stake here. Not numbers on a screen, but it is that freedom, that security, and that control over your future. Now, here's the good news. You know, you don't need to wait for the perfect moment, and you definitely don't need to figure everything out yourself, because knowing what to do is one thing. Feeling confident enough to actually do it is another. So if you are sitting there thinking, okay, I get it, I'm ready, but I do need a strategy, I need more focused support, I don't want to just second guess every single step of the way, then this is where me and Steph can help you. If that is kind of where you're at right now with your mindset, because if you are ready to secure your financial future and have true financial independence, to be guided step by step and to become that confident, independent investor, not someday, but right now, then we have built a way that's going to help you to do exactly that. So the next kind of couple of minutes, we're just going to show you what that looks like. So we created something called the Growth Strategy, which has now helped hundreds of women take control of their financial futures and build generational wealth for them and for their families, confidently and independently. It's a super, super simple, adaptable way of thinking about wealth that actually lasts. Now, each letter represents a principle that's going to help you to stay focused, make confident, better money decisions, and avoid making those costly mistakes. Now, they're not complex theories in any way, shape, or form. They are practical, real-world steps that you can start applying straight away. Now, to give you a bit of an oversight of the growth strategy, each module is designed to transform the way that you think, feel, and act around money, turning that uncertainty that you might have into unstoppable confidence. So module 1, G, getting started, here's where you'll understand how the stock market actually works, how you can make money by investing, and how to cut through all of that financial jargon with confidence. So you're going to understand how to actually invest in the stock market. Secondly, R is risk and return. So here you'll understand the different asset classes and how you can use risk to your advantage. Learn the timeless principles of wealth that allows you to grow your money whilst you sleep. So I think that's something that maybe, you know, just needs to get highlighted again, that what we advocate is passive. So this isn't about starting a new side hustle. It's not about taking on a property and managing tenants to try and get some extra income, you know, trying to get an extra pay rise at work. This is passive wealth building that you can do in your sleep once this is set up. O is for optimization. So this is about choosing the right investing account and brokerage platform and set yourself up for investing in a simple, low cost, and most importantly, tax efficient way. W, module 4, is all about being well balanced. So this is about following a clear step-by-step walkthrough to identify and boldly purchase your first investments without hesitation. And again, we're going to literally hold your hand through that process. The penultimate module, T, for time and tactics. We've touched on this a little bit today. So this is about learning the simple habits and automations to put into place to maximize your long-term returns whilst building your wealth consistently without lifting a finger. This is where we automate it and make it truly, truly passive. And then last is module 6, which is H for higher risk. So this is about taking your investing to the next level by starting to explore higher risk strategies, more active strategies designed to enhance your returns without taking unnecessary risk. So that is the last module that we cover. Now, if this sounds like exactly what you need, then this is our signature program. This is what we have been helping hundreds of women with over the last year. Paychex portfolio is designed for you so that you can become that confident independent investor in just 6 weeks. So essentially, it's all of our learning over the last 6 years put into a strategy that will get you there step by step, week by week, over 6 weeks. And our next cohort is actually starting on Monday. And I know that we've had some people, I think, that have dropped off that are already in that cohort. So yeah, we're very much looking forward to seeing you for Monday. So this is all about building wealth without the need for a financial advisor, without the need for a wealth coach. You're going to be able to independently, confidently do this on your own. We're going to help you to implement your wealth strategy. We're going to literally hold your hand through the entire process, helping you to set up your accounts and even helping you to click on your first purchase. We'll ensure that you have that clear trajectory of your wealth building roadmap, and we will take you through step by step of every single point in that journey to your freedom number mapped out. And most importantly, as I've already alluded to, you're going to be learning from our growth strategy. That's 6 modules that's helped us to build our portfolio today, and has helped lots of other women do exactly the same, which is 100% passive. And that's the really, really important part, meaning that once you do have this stuff set up, you're not going to have to lift another finger ever again.
So you might be asking right now, well, is this for me? Like, maybe I don't know enough to be on this course. Is it going to be quite advanced, or actually do I know too much? Have I already started investing? Well, firstly, this program is for women at all stages. You just have to be ready to essentially power up your finances and build significant long-term wealth that lasts. Secondly, this is for you if you're able to create a financial surplus each month. Investing is not about creating money from nothing. This is about making your money work for you. And even, through the magical tool of compounding that we've talked about, it's quite possible to turn those small amounts into substantial amounts of money over time, making you wealthy. You do need that surplus. How much? Okay, well, we like to say maybe a minimum of about £50 per month as a starter. The good thing is you can change this and you can build it over time. But £50 a month is probably the minimum you want to look at to start to build meaningful wealth. Thirdly, whether you're an absolute beginner or already investing, this is for you if you've been looking for a way to accelerate your wealth journey. But the strategy isn't suitable for everyone. So it might not be for you if you want to get rich overnight, because there's no such thing, as we've said. Anyone selling you this is probably being disingenuous. This program is about building wealth slowly but surely, in a simple, methodical way. It's about doing the small things consistently for a very long time. It's also not for you if you don't have the discipline or mindset to stick to a plan, because the most important quality for an investor is not having loads of money, is not having these great mathematical skills, is not being the perfect stock picker. We invest to get wealthy. So the most important qualities are actually self-belief, consistency, and perseverance, which everyone on the call right now, you've all stayed on this long, you absolutely have perseverance. It's about doing the ordinary for a very long time. It's also not for you if your financial future is already secure, i.e. you've got a great pension, you've got a shit ton of assets built up already, and this means you're already going to be able to live a very comfortable retirement, i.e. you've already got the sunbed on the beach in Bali booked for retirement. Also consider this. You may have some wealth behind you. Does that wealth belong to you? Meaning, do you have independence over your finances, or does maybe your partner run the money? It may be that investing for you could give you some autonomy over your future money. Just a thought. We really want to financially empower women, so just a thought there. So what does it look like? Well, the course is 6 weeks of live, real-time coaching with Lucy and I, and Q&A as we go along. We do Q&A throughout every single session, and then a longer Q&A at the end of every single session. We stay on until all questions have been answered. You get the exact tools that we use. So you get our portfolio tracker spreadsheet, the one that we use to track our investments to gain ultimate control over where our money is and how it's invested. You also get our Freedom Formula calculator. So remember we talked about the Freedom 4? This can be used essentially to gain clarity on your financial goal and number. So you can put all your numbers, your timelines, your contributions in, and it spits out a beautiful number that you're going to be able to get to, and it gives you that clarity. And you also get our mighty budgeting tool. Some people on this call might have been on our budgeting session a few weeks ago. Essentially, this helps with how to build that financial surplus. How, by you telling your money where it's going to go instead of wondering where it went. We talk about budgeting a lot, but it's the key to becoming in financial control of where your money's actually going. You'll also learn the exact methodology that we use when it comes to choosing which funds to invest in. This is one area that causes a lot of confusion, because we say invest in the global stock market, and then you go, how do I, tell me what I should invest in, and you get 1,000 different funds that are all invested in the global stock market. So how do you actually get over that overwhelm, that analysis paralysis? And we do that with our two-step methodology. This method essentially ensures you're going to be maximizing your wealth potential while keeping things super simple and super effortless. So that's what we're all about. We do a step-by-step walkthrough of our main chosen platform, Trading 212. Here you'll learn which account to use to make sure you invest in the most tax efficient way, how to navigate the platform, how to search for the exact investments that you want to pick, how to buy the investment, because even that can be quite confusing, how to choose ready-made pies or build your own pie if you're looking at a portfolio, how to set up the automations to make sure it all just works while you sleep, and then also how you can earn big interest on just pots of cash in that account while you're waiting to invest that money. And we also include an introduction in the course in that higher risk module of the 2 ways to analyse individual stocks if that's something that also sparks your interest. So we look at technical analysis and fundamental analysis, just to spark your interest. If that wasn't enough, we also throw in 6 extras. These are all our guides. Each of these is an individual standalone guide, and it helps you navigate through what can really feel like quite a complicated financial landscape. So they all supplement the course, but actually can be used in a standalone way as well to maximize your wealth. So how to invest for every decade of your life, how to guide, the full guide to asset classes, Gold 101, everything you need to know about to invest in gold, the investor's guide to tax, 5 ways to earn an extra £250 a month with side hustles, and also a guide to the top 5 UK investing platforms, another area of massive overwhelm for people. Okay, so we've got the 6 weeks of coaching. We talked about the tools. You get the 2-step methodology, the Trading 212 walkthrough, and all of our guides. Now, program value is 1497. However, it's January, and there might just be an amazing offer tonight for those that hang on, but more on that in a second. Remember, all sessions are live. It's step-by-step teachings. You will be investing after week 4. That's how we do it. We do things as we go. We don't get to the end and say, off you go, it's for you. You get full access to us during that time. It's not pre-recorded, get my words out, like most other products that are on the market at the moment, where you don't get that access to that live kind of real-time teaching. You also get the recordings for every single session. They're yours to keep forever to support your ongoing learning too.
There is a deal coming.
Deal coming. Now, what's wrong with my words today? Saturday, I'm tired. Sure, some of you right now might be thinking, I don't want to spend money on a course when I should just be investing that money, right? Many women worry about investing in their own knowledge. This is something that we fear. We should be spending on other people. We should be looking after other things. I don't want to waste my money when that money could be growing. Well, you could absolutely start with getting educated, but getting your strategy right early. So you can absolutely start without getting educated, but getting your strategy right early can be worth far more than the course cost over a lifetime of investing. We've seen investors who haven't properly considered things like tax, fees, lose not just 5 figures, but actually up to 6 figures, 6-figure sums over the lifetime of investing. This isn't taking money away from investing. It's what makes your investing work properly, giving you clarity over your plan, understanding exactly what you need to do and how to get there. You might be thinking, I don't have time for something that's going to be difficult. And that's exactly how we felt when we started. We all live really busy lives, right? And, as women, we tend to work and we look after everybody else. So no one wants to add another complicated or technical thing to our already chaotic lives. Thankfully, this isn't about finding that 25th hour in the day. It's about finding clarity. The program is designed to save you time by replacing years of trial and error with a simple structured system, the growth strategy. You can apply it immediately. And as we keep saying, it's 0 time, 0 effort, and 0 stress once we're set up. We can absolutely vouch for that. It's the exact strategy that we use. Hand on heart, we check our portfolio once a year. And all we do is check that it's continuing to grow nicely in a lovely way, and that is it. That's all we need to do. We also hear this quite commonly. All the information's online. Why should I pay for it? Now, spoiler alert, we aren't going to show you anything that you couldn't just Google. Information is free, but experience isn't. Our program provides you with a clear, trusted framework that has actually taken us nearly 7 painful years to develop, 7 years of slow, tedious learning, of mistakes, of learning the hard way so that you don't have to. And finally, what about this? Perhaps some people on the call have already started investing on and maybe just have a few gaps that they want to kind of close. So maybe, you know, they're thinking, well, I don't want to start back at the beginning again. Don't want to waste time. Well, actually, this is still exactly for you. It's not just for newbies. It's about making sure everything is set up correctly in a joined up strategy with a clear end goal, understanding your portfolio. Am I investing in the right thing? Is it taking me to where I want to go? And building that winning investing mindset that's going to keep you steady over the long term. We help you identify those blind spots, and rather than just giving you the ingredients, you're going to get the full recipe for success. Sorry, that's really cliche.
But wait, ladies, there is more to what we're offering you on the call this morning. So we're also going to be giving away our full online workshop, which Steph mentioned earlier on. And this is about 3 hours worth of content, all centered around getting started with all of those fundamentals of money management and allowing you to take control of your finances so you feel confident, motivated, and most importantly, ready to start investing. This is the exact workshop we've delivered in person. It's worth $497, and this would be available to you immediately if you were going to sign up today and get involved. There's also a typo on my slide, but there's also another bonus for those of you that are here today that are taking action to be in this room with us, which is our Freedom Formula Masterclass. So this is going to help you to calculate what your exact freedom number is, the amount that will give you that true financial independence and freedom and get you to that financial vision that, again, we spoke about at the beginning. It'll allow you to build a personalized wealth framework, based on what particular decade of life you are in. And it'll also, again, there's a resounding kind of consistent theme here. It will give you the clarity on how you can actually make your money work as hard as possible. No jargon, no overwhelm. This is just about breaking it down. And again, you get this immediately if you join us from Monday on the course. So something that's, we've experienced ourselves when it comes to, investing into our education is, sometimes it feels like it can be risky. We've had really, really good experiences, but at the same time, we've had pretty crap ones as well. So we wanted to be able to make women feel as comfortable as possible when they invested their time into essentially me and Steph to help them on this journey. So what we will give everybody that signs up is a risk-free guarantee. And what I mean by that is if you're not 100% happy by the end of the course, if you're not confidently, independently investing for your future, then we will continue to work with you until you are. So that is our 100% guarantee that you feel entirely confident that you are financially fierce, independent, independently investing by the end. Otherwise, we work with you until you are. So just to recap, we've got the program, we've got the guide bundle, we've got the Millionaire Mindset Workshop that's available straight away. We've got the Freedom Formula Masterclass that again is available straight away. So the total value is actually 2,743. But January special offer for everybody who is on this call is 749. But there's also more. There's more still to come. So for everyone that is on this call and who does decide to take action in the next 24 hours, the reality is we start Monday. Doors close to everybody tomorrow. So for those that do take action that are on this particular call, so this is not available to everybody, you also get a one-to-one financial strategy Zoom call, which again we normally charge $297 for private clients that come in for that additional support. And again, you get this straight away. Well, we'll book you in straight away. So again, just to recap, the program, 6-week program, all of our methodology, all of our tools, all of our guide bundles, the Millionaire Workshop, the Freedom Formula Masterclass. Now we've also got the one-to-one financial strategy Zoom call. So the total value is actually just shy of £3,000 with what we are offering. January special offer. However, for those of you that are on the call, we said that we wanted to give a really good offer today. We want to make this as accessible as we can while still trying to, build a business. And we give away a lot of our time and energy and support throughout the whole 6 weeks. In between each session, we are there as well to give you support. So it's a big part, of our values, of our goals, essentially, to ensure that you come away from this a winner, and that you come away feeling as good as possible off the back of this program, that you are genuinely building wealth that's going to change your life. That for us is the main purpose of what we do. Yes, it's a business, of course it is, but we genuinely absolutely love what we do. And again, I know we've got some women that have been on our program before, that were on this morning at the beginning, and that are in our community. It means a lot to us that everybody goes away as clear, as confident as they possibly can. So that is our offer for everyone, $499. What I want to do now, so you can see, we're going to go through some FAQs. We're going to open up for the questions and answers section for you to ask us anything you want. We'll stay here until we've answered everyone's questions. So if you are interested in joining us from Monday, we literally start Monday. We start at 7 p.m. You've got the QR code on the screen there, which will take you to the discounted landing page where you can grab this particular offer. We've also got the bit.ly link on the screen, or you can use the full link in the comments there, which will take you to it. Now, some frequently asked questions. When does it start? Well, it starts from 7 p.m. on Monday. We're running for 6 weeks. Each session lasts between 60 to 90 minutes. That's the amount of time investment that you need to put across to this next 6 weeks. All sessions are recorded, so if you do miss anything live, because let's face it, we've all got busy lives, then fear not, everything is recorded. You get lifetime access to everything, all of the bonuses, all of the guides, all of our methodology, all of our tools, all of the sessions. You get lifetime access. So if you do miss something, it's certainly not going to kind of negatively impact on you. Is this for you? Well, hopefully Steph has kind of covered that. If you want to build wealth that lasts, you've got discipline, you've got, you can apply some consistency. If you want that extra support and hand holding step by step, then absolutely yes. Are you too old? Again, as long as you have at least 5 years to invest into this particular wealth building strategy, then no, absolutely not. We have women that have been through our training who are in their late 60s and early 70s that are building significant wealth post our program. Again, what will you exactly learn? Well, hopefully going through the growth strategy, those 6 modules, that's kind of shown you exactly what we're going to be covering over the 6 weeks, step by step, in order to get you investing passively in the global stock market using our proven growth strategy. Will it be hard? No, because we break everything down. It doesn't need to be hard. We're going to take our last 6 years of learnings, of mistakes, of actually kind of getting there, a lot slower than we could have. We're going to take all of that and we're going to make it as easy as possible, because actually it doesn't need to be complex at all. Will I have time? Well, like I mentioned before, each session will be between 60 to 90 minutes. live, which we deliver every single Monday night. If you miss one, obviously you get all the recordings, and then we normally do about a 10-minute homework to help you implement, which again is always very, very practical, that you have to do within the week. Well, you don't have to do it, but it's going to benefit your learning if you do. So that is the maximum amount of time investment that you need for this particular program. So hopefully, I know some of you, had asked if we were going to be covering this today, which hopefully we've answered all of those questions that you had about our next cohort, our next program. We're very, very excited to get going. We've got some amazing women that are signed up, and yeah, we just can't wait, really. So if you do have any questions now about the program, if you have any questions about your own wealth building journeys, as we said, we will open it up to Q&A. We've got, fairly intimate groups, so if you want to kind of unmute yourself, you're more than welcome to do it. Or if you want to just use a chat box, you can use that as we go. So I'm just going to see if we've got any questions.
I'll kick off with Lois. Lois has got a question. So Lois says, can you draw down profit as an income or safety net while still leaving some money in to compound, or is it best to leave all the money in? Well, if we're talking about ISAs and drawing down money from ISAs, we can draw down any time from an ISA, right? It's not like a pension where we have to keep it locked away until a certain age. So yes, you can absolutely draw down, and the bit that you leave in is always going to continue to compound. It's just there having that consideration that the compounding is going to be much slower, it's going to take much longer if you're constantly pulling out of that pot. So yes, you absolutely can do it, but it's just then that understanding of the journey is going to take a bit longer if you've got a number in mind that you want to get to. So then we've got Jane. Jane said, I've just started on Interactive Investor, but I can't find any option for ETF only, me picking separate stocks. Do you go into this level of detail?
Hi. So I'm happy to explain if that's not clear. So I've literally put sort of £50, and I've been trying to work out myself how Interactive Investor works, but it's quite difficult. And I thought you could just go on, as you said earlier, and put it into a sort of spread bet, as it were, of kind of a whole portfolio. But actually, the only options I can see is for me to literally pick and choose. So I've got a couple of shares in BA, a couple of shares in, Premier Foods, a couple of shares in, and I can't see a way of actually investing my small amount of money in a sort of portfolio that they've already created for you. I can't find it.
So this comes down to ensuring that the platform that you pick, the investing platform or brokerage, it's often called, is suited to exactly what strategy you're going to use when you're investing. It's something we go into in quite a bit of detail. We break down the differences with some of the platforms. Now, Interactive Investor, I can't say hand on heart, it's not one that we use, but I'm pretty sure that you can invest in ETFs. It'll just be very much down to understanding how to navigate the platform. However, there are some platforms that will not allow you to invest in certain assets. Now, we do go into assets in a lot of detail. We break down funds, ETFs, index funds, separate stocks, all that sort of thing. There's not really time to do that today. I would be surprised if you couldn't invest in ETFs on Interactive Investor. On the flip side, there are platforms where you can only invest in ETFs and not in individual stocks. So it's trying to make you more kind of pushing you down the fund route. But I would be surprised if on Interactive Investor you couldn't invest in ETFs. I think it will probably be just working out how to navigate and find them in a separate area, maybe, or under a separate search tool. So it might be just a little bit of help on the platform, perhaps. Do we go into that level of detail? Certainly when we go through Trading 212 on the course, we break it down. We look at the differences between individual stocks and funds, and then in that high risk module we talk about how to start to think about analysing individual stocks. However, for most people, the approach that we talk about for 99% of the course is that very simple, one fund, one strategy. Don't have to worry about it, go to sleep for the rest of your life and wake up with a pot of money type approach. do you teach investments in digital currency? So not in particular, not specifically, Heather. We talk about crypto investing in module 6, and we kind of touch on digital currency, but we don't specifically talk about investing in digital currency, but we cover cryptocurrencies as a whole in that, for people then to give them an introduction in how you can do that. Adele, what's your view on robo-investor platforms, e.g. Wealthify? They certainly have a role. So our course is very much about teaching people to invest independently in a kind of DIY approach. Wealthify uses something called a robo-investor, which means you basically, and I think it will be something like, what's your risk approach, low, medium, high, and then it will show you a fund and you will just invest in their recommended fund. That's normally how these things work. And then there's a robot kind of picking the investments. That's quite useful for somebody who wants a more kind of standoff approach, but you're going to have to accept that you're going to be giving a lot of fees to the platform because essentially it's doing a lot of the work for you. Our approach is very much trying to get you confident. It's not difficult, but confident to a level where you can pick this yourself and do it at the lowest cost possible.
We spend quite a lot of time going over fees, because actually fees can sometimes be hidden from the untrained eye, and actually over time, when we look at compound interest, can cost you tens, if not tens and tens, if not hundreds, depending on where you're coming in at, thousands of pounds over that kind of time horizon. So again, fees is actually quite a big part of what we go into, so you can see exactly what you need to be aware of, and also like what you're comfortable with, depending on what your own specific goals and criterias are. And a lot of different platforms and brokerages offer different things, and again, that's something that we kind of do quite a lot of analysis on and discussion on. So again, you can pick the right platform and strategy for you. Oh, sorry, iPhone. I can't see who that is. I don't want to.
Lois.
Oh, Lois. Sorry. Hiya. Do you cover the risk in depth? Yes, we do. Again, risk is actually quite a big part of the program. In order to, for you to understand risk, but actually to be able to use it to your advantage, and that is absolutely what kind of investing is. It's understanding the risk, because there is a degree of risk, but we get something called a risk bonus advantage from using it when we invest long term. So again, that is quite a big part of the course, and it's just understanding that risk, where your risk appetite is, and again finding something that kind of suits that, but also most importantly using that risk to your advantage when it comes to getting yourself set up.
I think a good way to think about it is, people ask, is there risk in investing? Yes, there is risk in investing, just like there's risk in crossing the road, but we can mitigate that risk by looking left and right. Like, there's ways to manage risk, and that's what we do in the course. Is we first have to understand what the risk is, and then we understand strategies to manage the risk at a level that we are comfortable with and that will allow us to sleep at night. And that's what we're about. We're not about like, take all this risk, you're going to get massive returns, and a bit of a macho kind of approach. We talk about how to take risk to the level that you are comfortable with, that allows you to maximize and boost returns, but at a level that you're completely comfortable with. So that's risk. So then the other side of it is it risky? Like, is investing risky? No, it's not risky, as long as you know what you're doing. As long as you are educated, that you have a solid strategy that you understand and you can implement, then it is not risky. But risk as a noun, so to speak, we use that to our advantage. Hopefully that makes sense.
Is the course super hands-on, i.e.
That's at the end. Yeah. At the end, I think. At the end, I'll have a portfolio.
Yes.
Do you want to start on?
Yeah. So essentially, it's 6 weeks, with us, guiding you through step by step to make sure that actually at the end of the 6 weeks, you've got something that is built, is set up, is automated, and that essentially, you know, you don't have to lift another finger again, and you know that you have something set up that is really, really working for you, and it's making sure that your money is working for you in the most tax efficient way as well. We talk a lot about optimization, and you know the benefits of optimizing when it comes to, you know, the stock market, but also making sure that we've got the right tax wrapper in place. But yeah, so essentially you will have your portfolio in place by the end of this program. Or again, like we said before, we will continue to work with you until you do.
There's actually an opportunity to make your first investment after module 4, so week 4. We often find, like, after week 1, like, oh, the ladies are like, right, I just want to invest, can we just like skip to the good bit? Like, no, there's a reason why it's week 4, like we need to go through this methodically, but people get super excited, which is awesome. But yeah, but absolutely by the end of the course, and it literally is step by step like that, we'll take you through it.
So I think this is Lois again that's asked this. Do you see this as a better investment than property? That is a great question. So obviously I can give you a personal view on this. So we do have a property portfolio. We actually started off our investing journey in property back in 2018, 2019. And actually it was when we kind of took stock, excuse the pun, about 18 months ago, and we looked at our stock portfolio that we built using exactly this strategy that we've been doing for the last kind of 5 years, moving towards 6 years now, and that how we built something that, that particular portfolio is at 6 figures, that's on track to hit 7 figures in the next 10 years, that we've done completely passively, with no effort, no stress, no pain, no risk, because we take the long-term view. That when we then look at our property portfolio, that definitely hasn't been the case. So, for those of you that are in property is a great asset. It's one of the asset classes. It's a great way to leverage. Where else can you go into a bank and ask for 75% of what an asset's worth in order for you then to be able to kind of, take an income from or build some wealth from. However, for anyone that is in property, it is definitely not passive. It is definitely not pain-free. I often describe it as running the 400 meters on like hot coals and fire, whilst like the audience or the people watching on are throwing javelins at you. So that's our experience. Dealing with tenants, making sure that we're maintaining properties, having to kind of keep up to date with new legislation that the governments, keep putting out there. And let's face it, landlords aren't necessarily, kind of looked at in a favourable way. But to answer your question, do I see this as a better investment than property? Yes, 100%.
I think there's a cultural thing in the UK about property, like we all want it. We don't really know why we want it. It's something we can touch. It's tangible. We understand it. We understand probably better than the stock market. We understand the property market because we're, whether you've got a home or you're looking for a home, like we're interested, we want to look on Rightmove, we're kind of in it, and we it just makes sense. And it is good to be able to invest in things you understand. But when you look at the kind of flip side of property, there's a lot of pros, as Lucy said, but there's a whole lot of cons as well. And we do touch on this when we talk about assets. The way that the UK has started to switch its perspective on property owners, on landlords, it's become, what's the best way to describe it? There is a very, very negative view on landlords in the UK, and a lot of it is born out of some mistakes that maybe the government has made with not investing in social housing. And so they've basically all housing now, all private housing is provided by private landlords, and that is often now pricing people at the bottom of the market out of being able to rent, and the blame has been put on landlords, and therefore there's more penalties, more tax, more this, that and the other, and all that's doing is really passing costs on to tenants. So it's become a really, really difficult, challenging industry for many, many reasons, and it's actually quite difficult to now just own one property in your own name, like so a buy-to-let property. That the government have made it so that actually isn't very cost effective as an investment. You end up losing money if you just own one extra property as a buy-to-let, the way they've made the tax and things like that. So you really need to consider, if property is what you want to do, you probably need to think about doing it on a large professional scale. You need probably 4 or 5 properties to make money out of property these days, which has made it inaccessible for most people. It's really naff, but it is unfortunately how it is, which is why for a lot of people now going forward, it's much more accessible to enter the stock market. You can invest for £1. You can invest in the stock market with £1. Let's think about the average property, even 160,000 property, like a buy-to-let, we need £40,000 deposit on that. Who just has £40,000 unless you come into money? So, or you've been a good saver. So really, when we talk about accessible wealth, the stock market is absolutely the kind of ground up place to start.
I mean, they used to say kind of, you know, if we're thinking about capital appreciation in terms of the property market, that you used to be able to double your money in 10 years. That's no longer the case. Again, if you look at the market as it is now and house prices, that just is not the case anymore. And again, when you're looking at it, okay, well, from a, you know, trying to, you know, build an income through a second property, actually now when, you know, the tax penalties that have come out for landlords, you know, the inability to get the same relief that the landlords used to get, the extra money it's costing to just kind of manage properties, the fact that, you know, if you have a bad tenant now, you can't get rid of them. You've got no protection. You've got no you've basically just got no tools in your toolbox anymore in order to be able to deal with that. So it's a challenging landscape. And again, this is all about, and what we teach is about setting yourself up in the most efficient, passive way possible, you know, in order to build as much wealth as you possibly can. So that's kind of where we're at, and that's kind of what we really want to help women do. We want to be able to break it down, because it doesn't have to be complex, you know, all the things that we've spoken about, and it is absolutely a space that we belong in as women, and we're really passionate about that, and we very much believe it. So yeah, I mean, every single week that we go on, we've obviously got our, you know, our framework, our structure that we stick to, you know, but we also have real and honest conversations about this stuff as well. So you know, for anyone that's asked questions that, you know, do you cover this, you know, or this, we'll essentially cover what, you know, what you need in order for you to get where you need to get to. So, you know, it's, again, our main aim is for you to come away, you know, having got as much value as you possibly could out of our training.
Probably worth also say it's all about the community as well, and we'll have our special a special place on the Circle community just for the course cohort. So you don't just have the opportunities every Monday to ask the questions, but you've got the constant opportunity through the platform to ask questions outside of the Mondays, and we'll get back to you. You know, so often you listen to a session and then 2 days later you're like, oh, I just need that explaining, or are the relevance to me, or something like that, and then you can drop questions in there, and we'll kind of answer it really quickly. So it's really good to, and then other people start kind of getting involved as well, and there's that whole community group feel about it as well. So yeah, it's really an important part of the learning process.
Awesome. Do we ladies have those that are still on the call? You know, please feel free to unmute if you've got any other questions. If you want to drop them in the chat box, or if we're done with questions, if we've exhausted them, then I guess just to recap really, for those of you that have been on today, hopefully, you know, you've got some good value out of the session. You know, maybe it's opened your eyes up a little bit to certain aspects, and you know, you're feeling excited about kind of what's next and what your potential could be in the investing space. If you would like to join us on our next cohort that literally starts Monday, then hopefully this has been a really good opportunity for you to see what we're all about. Obviously, we've got the exclusive offer for everybody. If you do register and join us from Monday and sign up, you will get your one-to-one as well, which again is exclusive. No one else gets that outside of who's not watched this particular session. You know, we obviously wouldn't be able to do that for everybody, just from a time point of view more than anything. But for those of you that do sign up, you've got your one-to-one. Doors will be closing on this tomorrow because we start on Monday. So if you are looking for the opportunity to get started, if you want to do it in a safe, non-judgmental, positive, empowering space with me and Steph, taking you through step by step, then this is hopefully your sign and the opportunity that you've been waiting for.
One more question.
One more question
from Lois. Is it possible to replace rental income with instead rental income? I'm looking for another income stream as well as long-term pension replacement. So no questions. Is it replace rental income with something else, or are you saying is rental income a good replacement for pension? Do you want to, if you clarify that? I think what you might be asking there, Lois, is with investing in the stock market, can you replace rental income with investing in the stock market? So there is two. I'll try and answer the best way possible if this is your question. Yeah, there's two ways to invest. Thanks, Heather. There's two ways to invest. There's to invest for growth and invest for income. Now, clearly, both of these are going to need to have built a pot to be able to be a meaningful amount of wealth, as we sort of showed using those four freedom factors. Quite difficult to say. I don't know what's wrong with my speech this morning.
You do have I always highlight this, it's probably embarrassing, but you do have a brace on, and that is
actually
quite
difficult. I have top and bottom.
So we can
tract.
Let you off.
So some people actually focus on what's called income investing, which is where you build a pot and then you take an income through that pot, whereas other people focus on growth investing because they're trying to build long-term wealth for the future. Now clearly they both have different purposes. To build a pot big enough to take an income on in the short term, it's probably going to need substantial wealth. We're talking people who are selling businesses, getting inheritances, finding lump sums, down the back of the sofa, and then putting their money into the stock market and then trying to get basically an income from that. It's really difficult to get an income when you've got small pots of money, because with these small pots of money, remember, we're trying to build wealth over the long term. We're trying to use that compound effect and time effect to build it into something much bigger. So there's not really a massive point in taking income from that, because it's really just going to slow down the journey. So the method that we teach is really about growth investing, about turning small amounts of money into big amounts of money, so that eventually when we retire, we can then take an income from it. But really, income investing in the short term is for people who just put big chunks of money into the stock market and hoping they can just get a return. Mm-hmm. And that kind of is similar to property, because remember, in property, we're putting a big chunk of money into an asset, 25 grand, 50 grand, 75 grand. We could absolutely do that in the stock market and earn an income. We're talking about turning small, consistent wealth, something that's not possible in property on the whole, into bigger chunks of money. So we're using a growth approach. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, hopefully that answered your question, Lois. I'm just thinking who we've got left on. Sarah B, Adele, and Lois. Again, have we got any more questions, ladies? Again, if you want to reach out, please feel free. If you are going to be joining us for Monday, amazing. Doors will close tomorrow, and again, really just to highlight that the offer that we put out today will definitely never be this good again. And I'm not saying that from a sales perspective in any way, shape or form, just being really honest and open. The amount that we kind of give away on this 6-week program, we're not physically going to be able to do that continuously. So this will be the last time at this price that we offer everything that we're offering on this program and all the bonuses that go with it and the one-to-one, etc. So if you are sitting on the fence, then maybe this is the right time to take action. We would love to obviously welcome you on the program for Monday. We've got some amazing women that are joining us. We've got a great cohort. It's going to be a lot of fun as well. It's going to be very empowering, and it's going to be a great way to really kind of kick on with 2026 and beyond. So if we don't have any more questions, Lois, you're welcome. I think Heather's dropped off. Great session. I have to leave. So please feel free to reach out if you would like to. And if you've still got any questions with regards to the programme, feel free to DM me or Steph on the circle. That's absolutely fine. Hopefully this has been really valuable for you today. And we look forward to seeing you either on the course on Monday or in the community going forward. Have an amazing rest of your Saturday. Have an amazing rest of your Saturday and your weekend. And remember, whatever you do, enjoy the ride, and we will see you soon. Awesome.
Bye.
Cheers, ladies.
See you later.
Bye.